Okay, so I think we'll begin.
Sure.
So, a very good evening, everyone. And this is Jesleen, and I'm happy to welcome you all to the first live session of the Women in Tech series by Floxus. We are an EdTech company keen to nurture the technical you. And today we are extremely pleased to welcome Ms Astha Mohta as our speaker for the first live session. Astha is currently working as a software engineer at Google, working in the Cloud Spanner environment. And it's the stories that people love to watch and get inspired, but what seldom comes forward to inspire. It indeed takes courage to tell your own story, for you don't know the side effects. And I would like to give kudos to Astha Mohta from the entire team of Floxus to come forward and help us to start the much needed discussion of making Women in Tech series. And we are indeed looking forward to walk through her journey. Before we go forward, just a bit about Astha. She is an alumnus of the Delhi College of Engineering and has also worked as a research and development engineer at Ansys. She has several glorious internships to add to her achievements, like a summer intern at UnitedHealth Group and a software intern at ValueFirst Digital Media. A highly accomplished individual in the field of technology and innovation, Astha has indeed left no leaf unturned to master the highly advanced Java and C++ languages, along with a brilliant know-how of data structures. So let's hear her success story, for indeed, reaching this position is not an easy task. So Astha, to begin with, first of all, let's have a general introduction from your side as to what type of a person are you?
Hi everyone, I'm Astha. Thanks Jesleen for the introduction. I think it pretty much covers all my experiences. And right now I'm working in the cloud database team at Google. I'm really excited to be here. And I am working on Django and Python, C++, Java, and I guess I'm someone who's just really curious to learn, and that's about me. So, I think there are just some network issues.
So, by the time Jasleen joins in, I'll take the conversation forward with you, Astha. So, first of all, the thing which you are doing at Google is simply amazing. So, uh, one thing which has actually spiked the mind of many people was that how were you able to manage and how were you able to get into Google? So how did you prepare for your interviews and what's the strategy you had you tried and you were able to get success?
So honestly, it's not a 1 day process. It's you code for a very long time and slowly you improve. And so actually, the first time I did apply for Google and interviewed for them, I did not get in. But that entire process of coding taught me so much and how to appear for an interview that a year later, when I did, it was really helpful. So it's a constant process. You have to put in effort every single day. You have to Uh, at Google, at least, the interview process, they only ask data structures and algorithms to you. They don't ask OS or networks and all of those stuff. So a lot of the focus is on doing competitive coding, and it's a continuous effort. You do a lot, like personally, I did a lot of questions on lead code and GFG, and you do like you focus on more medium and harder questions. As you advance, you learn harder data structures like segment trees, binary index trees, tries, and it's a continuous process. You have to put in some time every single day.
That's actually wonderful. So, yes. So there's a stigma in this society, right? So that women can't be good in tech, or women are preferred to do more of what Justine initially said was that women are more inclined towards humanities, arts, and many different topics. So how did you make your mind that yes, software engineering was something which you will like to do?
So I honestly I didn't really think about it a lot when I was in school. I enjoyed science and math, so it made sense to take science when I was in 11th, 12th, and I got to college and well rank के हिसाब से computers मिल रही थी तो ले ली, but there is still like always this option of going into a technical field, or you can always go pursue non-technical branches, and a lot of my fellow colleagues did that, and that's great. But I started coding and I enjoyed that a lot. So I guess doing internships, doing projects helps, and talking to people, seeing what they are doing helps you figure out what you want to do further in life. So I think a lot of experimenting is how you figure out what you enjoy, because but I guess if you don't experiment, you can't really know, right? So I think the stigma that does not even allow women to experiment keeps a lot of them back, and I hope like that, like with a lot of women actually succeeding in tech, that will reduce.
That's wonderful. That's very nicely said. And wait a second. Let me just switch on my video. I wasn't prepared to do this. So I think
No.
Jasleen has also joined the workshop, joined the stream. So some network issues and such things tend to happen when we go completely online. So I'm adding Jasleen back to the stream, and she will take it ahead.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm
Jasleen, you
sorry
can go
for the
ahead.
interruption, Astha. It was just a network error on my end. I'm really sorry about it. Yeah. So, without any further ado, we'll move forward. So, I think you must have completed your general introduction in my absence.
Yeah, Utkarsh asked a couple of questions about how I decided to start off in this field.
Yeah, okay, that's nice. So, Astha, just a question from my side that what was the condition of the gender ratio in your branch? Like basically, you are from an engineering background, so how was the number of boys and girls seen in your branch and in your college?
So I wouldn't say it was great. I think in my class of 75 people, there were 6 or 7 women.
Okay,
And usually, like when you went to more core branches, the ratio actually reduced. For example, in mechanical, there were like 6 women
yeah,
in a
okay,
batch of like 180 people.
okay,
So I think it does affect you a bit, because it's really great to have other people who you can look up to when you identify with a like there are multiple parts of my personality, and my identity as a woman is a part of it, and it's really nice to see other women in a place of success and talk to them about some issues. For example, there are biases against women, so it's really nice to talk to other women about what biases they faced and how they dealt with it, and to look up to other women. So it's,
okay.
I guess, that does reduce when there are lesser women.
Yeah, I
So,
can understand that. So,
and
as
so, from
Yeah,
there.
as one of the minority ladies in your branch and in your college, how was your participation in the college activities? Like, were you that introvert type of person only into studying, or were you up into all kinds of clubs, societies, activities, everything? Like, what was your scene?
Okay, so I don't think the college students, as per, discriminated. So all the societies had a lot of women. It wasn't like that at all, and there were ample of opportunities for everybody to participate equally in different societies. I was in Actors, which does social entrepreneurship, and I was also part of eSelf for a while.
Okay, that's great.
And yeah, and though there are, I think, some limitations because you have curfews, right? Like, women had curfews in my college and men did not. So you can't work through the night if you are in a tech society and you're working on a product. You can't be in the lab all night, whereas men can do that. So there are some limitations, but I don't think, as such, the students were, or the societies discriminated with
Okay.
us.
Okay. Like, I suppose that most of the students of BIT Mesra would be watching us right now. So, just a question to boost their confidence. Like, here in BIT, we girls have this case of in time for our hostels. Like, we are supposed to be back in our hostels before 8 p.m. at night. So, was that the case with you also? Like, were you all also subjected to such kind of restrictions? Like, the girls were supposed to be in, and there's no restriction for boys in our
Yeah,
college. Like, I really pity that fact.
yeah, I relate with that because when I did join college, our in time was 9 o'clock, and men did not have an in time. But I think in second year, the Women Council of Delhi was like, you can't do subject this. That is discrimination. You can't subject women
Yeah,
to an in
exactly.
time, and so I think it got extended to 11 for us. So that did give us a lot more freedom because, yeah, aren't a lot of places we want to even be at after 11.
Yeah,
It would have been great if there was no curfew, to be very honest. But yeah, the curfew got less stricter, and that was helpful. Definitely,
okay.
that does increase participation in freedom. And authorities thinking that, security and caging someone in is the same thing is very sad, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I must say, 11 is a pretty cool time. Like, you can indulge in so many activities after your regular college hours. So, that's quite
Yeah,
good.
it does allow you to get together and work on stuff with other people.
Yeah,
And honestly, like, when you have a curfew, you are sometimes forcing people into unsafe positions because there are times when you might end up working a little too late, and then you would probably have to travel back home, or
yeah.
probably get a scolding from your warden or whatever, and you just might
Exactly.
want to escape that. So yeah, you're subjecting that person to an unsafe environment in that period rather than just letting them have a safe place to go back to.
Okay. So that Astha, like college life, of course, goes on, and we make a lot of good memories. So, like, I suppose while entering your third year, that cloud of internships and placements must have started creeping into your mind. So, how did you start approaching for internships and all, like for of a technical background? So, how did you go for that?
So, to be very honest, I was very confused at the end of my second year. I wasn't sure if I wanted to, like, indulge in tech or maybe take a non-tech internship. But I decided that, at least there are going to be a bunch of tech internships coming in this. So at least I'm going to prepare for them and maybe intern at one of them to see if I enjoy it. That's a good way to
Yeah.
tell, if I'm going to enjoy this or not. So I actually started preparing very late, and I do definitely regret that I did not prepare earlier. So, like, if anybody is looking forward to the internship season, like, definitely start preparing, like, early on. But so I think something that was really important to my experience is that even though I did not, appear like I did start preparing really late. I every time I could not solve a question in a test or something, I used to come back and like me and my friend, we used to go to the library and we used to make sure that we were able to code it by the end of it. So
Okay.
that's really important. And I actually got rejected by 20 companies on campus before I got an internship. And
Bye.
exactly. And 10 of them did not even like 20 from the 20, 10 of them did not let me sit because my GPA, there was like a bar for 8 GPA to like sit in internship.
Okay.
But yeah, so yeah, you slowly learn from your mistakes. Maybe like, yeah, try to
Exactly.
keep a good GPA.
So, like, you only went for these coding type of internships, like which requires the knowledge of programming, data structures, or did you opt for some non-tech internships too?
I mean, I wasn't very prepared for the internship scenario, and at least in my campus, most of the internships are technical, whereas for the non-technical, there aren't a lot of internships, but there are placements. So
Okay.
I think like at that time, I just went with the flow, and I decided to give not a, sorry, technical internships a go.
Okay. Like in my connections, there are several people who are like preparing for these coding interviews, coding internships, and they are mugging up simply like sort of all day engrossed with these data structures and all. So, how did you prepare for these? Like data structures, Java, Python, like it's a vast ocean. You really can't have any end to all of this. So, like,
Yeah.
how did you prepare for it? What sort of resources did you use for preparing all these things?
So I think what is important is you decide on a bunch of companies that okay, these are my dream companies, and then you go through the interview, what the interviews look like, what kinds of questions they ask, if that is a particular type of job that you want. So, like for example, if I'm applying for Amazon, there are tons of resources out there to like look at
Yeah.
what kinds of questions are asked at Amazon and what is the interview process. And generally, it's quite similar. They're going to ask you data structures, they're going to ask you OS, DBMS, maybe networks sometimes. And yeah, so it's a fixed, so there are some questions that are more likely to be asked than others. And when you start preparing, like how did you prepare for JE, right? You
Yeah.
focus more on questions. Like
Exactly.
yeah, you studied the concept, but then questions is more important, right? So it's similar, I guess, in coding. You try to solve more questions every day and try to level your like increase your level.
Yeah. So I think this will really solve the doubts of several people hearing us today because this is a question which troubles everyone. And I must say,
I
you
mean,
have yeah,
yeah,
you
I
can
mean, even
continue.
for my like for my Google interview, I pretty much just went to lead code. I saw I clicked on what are the like questions asked in the last 6 months, and I just kind of went through that list. I didn't that there is a limited period of time that you have, and you have to make the most of it. So it's better to have a more like a focused approach than a general approach.
Exactly. So then, of course, your internships are indeed a source of motivation for many because you have done internships in several good organizations. So then, coming to your placement scene, like how did your placement scenario go? Like, what sort of apprehensions did you have related to placements? And actually, when in your college life did you start preparing for your placement interviews? Like, basically, timing is a major problem for several college students because even I'm studying in my third year, and I am clueless as to when to begin preparing for internships, when to begin preparing for placements. So, how did you begin with all these things?
So I think 3 to 4 months before your placement sessions, you can start prepare. Like if you have basic knowledge of what data structures look like and what the basic algorithms are, 3 to 4 months before your placement session should be enough if you're coding every day. And I used to have an internship, right? So we had to go to work every day. So what we used to do, a couple of us, we used to just sit during the internship. After a point, we used to finish our work and then we used to just sit in our offices and we used to code together. And
Wow.
I think it's really great to like have other people to code with because you can discuss your approaches. There are multiple ways to solve any problem. I would recommend get a buddy if you're like preparing for
That's
placements.
nice.
So yeah, so go ahead. So I think you should. That's how I think 3 to 4 months is enough to prepare for placements.
Okay. But some people actually feel that teamwork, like distracts them. It causes them ki like if चार दोस्त साथ में बैठेंगे तो they'll be like गप्पे ज़्यादा मारेंगे and काम कम होगा. So did that see
Yeah,
that?
so
Because
you need
I
to
have
know
seen
what
this.
kind of a person you are. अगर तुम्हें लगता है
हाँ.
कि that's the case, then तुम घर पे बैठो, code करो, and then like when you have doubts, you can like maybe set a type up कि हाँ इस आधे घंटे हम discuss करेंगे questions.
Hmm.
And honestly थोड़ा break भी चाहिए होता है तो फिर ठीक है उस हिसाब
Hmm.
से खुद code करो and then like you discuss and take a break with your friends.
Yeah.
That also works pretty well.
Yeah. Okay, so that's really cool because I am that sort of person कि अगर मैं दोस्तों के साथ बैठ के करूँगी तो I'll be like फालतू बात ज़्यादा होगी और जो काम करने बैठे थे that will be distraction a lot. Yeah,
हाँ
okay.
हाँ
So
yeah.
and so before Google, I suppose you've also worked at Ansys. So how
Yeah.
was the work environment at Ansys? Like, look, it's also a name company. So what would you like to suggest about Ansys?
Ansys had a great culture, and I really appreciated my time there. I think that's like where I made my first commit into production, so that is an important milestone. But yeah, so I think they focused a lot on our learning. They used to hold sessions all the time. My manager was really nice. He used to push us to ask questions, like every, and I think that's what personally for me identifies a bad organization from a good organization is that they promote you to ask questions. They don't look down on you if you're asking dumb questions because that's literally how you learn. You're a fresher.
Okay.
It's okay if you ask stupid questions. And a healthy culture that promotes it is really nice. I think Ansys, the work was on electronic design automation. So I guess for me personally, I realized that that's not something after working that's not something I enjoyed very much. But I mean, for somebody who is interested in that field, it was a great company. So for me personally, it was a stepping stone in the way it made me realize what I like about working and what I don't. So that was an important realization.
Yeah. Okay. That's quite good. Quite good. Okay. So, and was Google always your dream company? Like several people have this notion in their mind from right from the first year of their college. Like कि जिस दिन से college के gate में कदम रखा उस दिन से decide किया I want a job at Microsoft or I want a job at Amazon, Google. So was that the case with you too?
To be very honest, जब मैंने कॉलेज ज्वाइन किया था ये आई वाज लाइक कि हाँ मुझे चिल करना है, मैंने बहुत पढ़ाई कर ली 2 साल अब मुझे
Okay.
बस बकवास करनी है एंड आई थिंक आई वेस्ट there is a reason why my GPA was low. Okay. So
Okay.
first 2 years I think I chilled a lot, but then like when the placement season and everything began, yeah, there was this thing that Google was kind of my dream company. And I mean that the entire experience of like I always wanted to work at Google because I had heard so many good things about the culture, and I really wanted to know what it was like. So
Okay.
and yeah, and I wanted to work with people who were really motivated and really smart, and I just really looked up to that opportunity. So yeah, I mean when I finally did realize कि हाँ this is what I want to do in life, then yes,
Okay.
Google was definitely on the top.
Okay, okay. So, in a way, like according to you, are engineers the people who study one night before the exam, or like what do you feel should be done in if we need to maintain our GPA? Because these days, companies during placement, the first thing which they look at is, of course, our GPA. So, any tips for that?
See, I personally think GPA is a great way to tell if a person is consistently working because, you know, if you have a good GPA, you probably put in effort every day, and and that's a skill a lot of companies are looking for. You want a person who is dedicated to the work that they're doing. They will put in the effort, and quite often that is hard work is can like it beats intelligence any day. Personally, I feel so. So I would suggest, yeah, definitely keep your GPA up. To be honest, मैं क्या कहते हैं like finally my GPA like when I came out of college it improved because I after internship में ऐसे like नहीं लग रही थी तो मैंने काफी अपने GPA पे work किया था and I did end up scoring like nines like pretty much all semesters after that. And it
Okay.
was just a little bit of consistency, just paying a little bit more attention in class so that, you know, when you're studying on your own during exams, you know what you're like, what's going on, and just reducing that pressure on yourself. And
Okay.
I think क्या कहते हैं, I used to for midsems I used to study like a week or two before midsems, and for ensems like 2-3 weeks before ensems I used to start studying. But when you do start studying, yeah, you have to focus on it. You don't have to study a lot, but you have to like, you know, जब तुम पढ़ रहे हो तुम अच्छे से पढ़ो उसे, तो that is important. And again, I don't know. I like you said, group study might not be for everybody,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
me and my roommate and or like I had this other friend, so we used to be like after we were done studying, we would just skim through all the topics together. And I think when like somebody else says it to you, it sticks a little bit more than like reading a page.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Okay, that's pretty cool, like I must say. So means GPA, of course, requires a bit of consistent study. We can't just rely on one day or one night before studies. Okay,
Yeah, I
okay,
have
that's
done that also. It suffices. I wouldn't say it wouldn't suffice, but yeah, अगर आप एक दिन की जगह एक हफ्ते पढ़ लोगे तो ऐसा you won't lose out on a lot of fun. It's fine. पूरे सेमेस्टर में 3 हफ्ते टोटल पढ़ सकते हैं.
exactly. Like there are so many college fests and all. Of course, we are having an entire online college session, so we don't know about it. But yeah, before there were so many college fests that we were hardly sitting in our hostel rooms. All the time we were out enjoying something or the other. So that was an entirely different experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel terrible for people who joined college during the pandemic. They do have like I feel like they missed out on the entire experience of meeting so many people who are so
Exactly.
different to you, and college fests and going and all of these activities that like, the society is being part of something bigger. It really helps develop your personality.
Exactly, exactly. Like interaction is indeed a college booster, and it boosts everything, your college life, your overall persona, everything.
Yeah, you're not going to college to just study a subject. A lot of that you can do through online courses. You're going there for an experience and to meet a lot of people. And I think people do add value. You're going to have seniors who are going to guide you, you're going to have friends, your interactions with juniors. All of that is a part of your own development as well. And that's very important. I think just leave you froze up. Okay.
Like, what was your comparison between Ansys and Google? Like, how can you relate the two companies?
Sorry, I think I missed it because it broke off. Can you like repeat the
Yeah, yeah,
question?
sure. Of course, of course. Like, I was just asking you to give a relation between the companies Ansys and Google, like, as far as their work environment is concerned, and your personal perception of the two companies. Like, how can we correlate between them?
Both of them had a lot of focus on our personal learning. So even at Google, when I joined, I had an imposter syndrome that I'm not going to know anything. How am I supposed to, you know, cope up? I do not know a lot of development, and I got in through using DSL Go. How am I going to fit in? But they have a training program that you go through. You have to develop your own project. And even with Ansys, I think the first month they gave me a lot of lectures to listen to, and they give you a lot of time to actually adjust to see what's like to learn the technology. And I think that's what was common between Ansys and Google. Also, people were really nice. I've heard like I've not heard this from like a lot of other organizations, but you can just ping anybody up in the hierarchy and have a one-on-one call with them, ask them whatever doubts you have. I have people who are like 15 years older than me, and I can just ping them that, I'm not understanding this particular concept. Can we get on a call and can you like explain it to me? And both companies had that in common. So I really like that. I like the fact that the hierarchy was not so strict. You know
Okay,
that
okay.
that is really great. It does help you to learn a lot more and make you feel comfortable in the environment that you're working in.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Like Asta, when we were having this registration link for your event shared, like we circulated a Google form and we got the responses back. And you can't imagine that in the responses, we had put in a section which contained that, do you want to ask Asta any specific question? And most of
Yeah.
the people have listed this question that, how did you get into Google? Like that's I think a star-studded thing for you, that how do you want to get into Google. So any specific incident or any specific thing related to the placement specifically for Google which you would like to share with the audience, because this is something which everybody yearns to know, because Google is of course a dream name.
I think a lot of people are really scared of applying. So I think the most important thing is you can totally get in. Go ahead and at least apply for this job. If you're never going to apply, you're never going to get in. It's as
Exactly.
simple as that. Try getting a referral. And personally, I was approached through LinkedIn. So I would
Okay.
suggest, yeah, definitely, put in your projects and what internships you have done in your, and even like during hiring in general, the recruiters, how are the recruiters going to know who are other people? They are going to go through LinkedIn and previous people who have applied, right? They're not going to magically come up with your name. So it definitely
Exactly.
helps to put your name out there to apply and try getting a referral, like I said. That
Yeah.
all of those things definitely help. And there are some key times that recruitment is at a peak. So for college students, I think around August to September, the recruitment starts. So try getting in your name early. There are fixed
Okay.
number of positions. So yeah, and like even for the internship season, it's around August and September. So try people usually have hiring cycles, so try abiding by that. Try applying around those times when they are actively looking for people. Keep checking the
Okay.
career site.
Yeah, of course. Now, as you spoke about LinkedIn, so what do you feel should be the appropriate points for a good LinkedIn profile, so that like employers, they start looking for you, they want to actually hire you. So like how to build an effective LinkedIn profile, because there are people who have like 2000 followers, these many experiences, but still they are struggling to get a good job, a good internship. So, what should be the key aspects of a good LinkedIn profile?
So when someone is going to look to hire you, they're probably going to type in a bunch of keywords into their search bar and try to. So those keywords need to be basically. So if you are working, so for example, I work in the database team. If then they were to hire somebody for the database team, they're most going to look for software engineer and database. So if you have not mentioned that in your LinkedIn profile anywhere, so yeah, try adding a description to all of your experiences. Try adding your resume, and try keep posting about your accomplishments. If you're into research, post about the research papers that you have done, and so on. I think it's it's pretty basic. Just update all the fields that it requires you to fill in, and I think you would be definitely good to go. And also try following people who are more likely to post about jobs, right? So that you
Yeah.
can approach them, or at least know that there are openings.
Yeah, exactly. Like these days, I'm coming across a lot of posts on LinkedIn which state about building a one-page resume and the difference between a CV and a resume. So, what is your outlook on this fact? Like when you applied for your placement, was your resume a compact one-page one? Or like did you follow that CV structure, like because there are several people, especially in the second and third year, who want to know the difference between a resume and a CV. So like, can you tell us about it?
I think, see, nobody has the time, to be very honest. They have to go through a lot of profiles, they have to go through a lot of resumes really quickly. A one page resume is definitely the way to go, because you need to understand that they need to shortlist people really quickly. Everything important needs to be on the top. Your past experiences, probably your education, they need to go on the top. Your skills probably go at the bottom side. And like I said, people don't have the time to read your resume. I think there was this study which was like, oh, average recruiter spends 6 to 10 seconds looking at your resume, and you really need to make to shine in that period. So having effectively showcasing, so for example, if you're in your third or fourth year of college, I would recommend, if you have a good code chef or code forces rating, it definitely goes on the top.
Like
And yeah,
this is indeed shocking, because we all spend, a lot of time building our resume, and hearing this from you that the employer only spends 6 to 10 seconds looking at that, which we
yeah,
have
but
made over a couple
you
of
have
years.
to spend a lot of time to make sure that it really shines,
Hmm,
that you're putting
exactly.
everything important in there.
Yeah. Like, do we need to, give it a highlight sort of thing, that our chief projects remain at the top, and then we
Yeah,
go on
definitely.
decreasing priority? Exactly, right?
You
Okay, okay.
always put your more recent projects on the top, and then you go like decrease. Like if you had a more recent internship, you put it on the top. If you got a dean's award or something like that, that goes on the top. If you are looking for a job that probably requires competitive coding in its interviews, goes on the top.
Okay, okay, that's very nice. And like, apart from this industry and technical aspects, I want to ask you that, was your family and were your friends, parents, everybody always supportive of the tasks which you are doing, of the stream which you are pursuing? Were they always supportive for you?
Yeah, they were. So I feel very grateful, because I realized that it's not always the case. But my parents had a lot of focus on my education, and I do have a brother, and I never felt like being discriminated, or having lesser opportunities than him. And I'm really grateful for all of that, that I did not have, that I could commit all of my time to my education. And also that, even today, my mom and my dad are like constantly lecturing that, yeah, okay, you're in Google and that's great, but you need to rise up over here also. So keep focusing, keep working hard. So yeah, my parents are very Indian parents. They will constantly push me, and I'm really grateful for that.
Because I see that this is the problem with several people, especially females, that if they get a college which is far away, like, miles away from their hometown, so there's this first question which pops into everybody's mind: ki bheje ya na bheje? Is it okay to send her or not? But I've not seen this question popping into people's mind when it comes in for boys. So that's why I wanted to ask you whether it was the case with you also, because I think your college was in Delhi and your place of residence was not Delhi. So were your parents always very open to send you to a different city for the purpose of studying?
Yeah, so my parents really, so both of my parents like really enjoyed their hostel life. So they always felt like it is very important for personality growth to go into, to live in a hostel. And they were like, we don't care how far away you live from like us. You have to go live in a hostel. the first day, we're dropping you off. You have to go there and live on your own. Because living in a different city, managing your expenses, all of that is a really important part of growing up. And I think that is why I really appreciated my internship as well, because for the first time, you're making money and you're spending the money that you're making. So all of those stuff is really important for your growth. And I do understand that ये question like आता है, there is this question of difference between men and women, and
Yeah,
I wish things were better for that way.
exactly.
Like I feel
Exactly.
extremely privileged over here.
Yeah, because there are several girls who want to like study and they want to enter these technical fields, but still they don't get this opportunity. They are pushed back by this stereotypical mindset, and we really can't help this fact.
Yes, I think hopefully, like all of those who do get to pursue this will, I think this will help show the society that yeah, we are pretty very much capable of living on our own and doing things our own way and being successful. And I think that is changing now. So it's really great that
Exactly.
things are changing slowly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So here we have several audience watching us. So there are several questions coming in for us. So I would like to like take a few of those questions. So there are some people who are asking about data structures, algorithm, competitive coding. Like what's the appropriate approach which should be followed for studying that and becoming a master to grab a good placement offer?
Okay. So yeah. You choose a language. I used to code Java, but I think the most popular ones are C++, Python, and Java. There are other options also, but it just happens that unfortunately, in a lot of coding tests, there is a restriction on okay, you can choose only one of these languages and code in them. So I guess it's like better to maybe stick to the safer ones. Other than that, I think you can go ahead. You go ahead and watch a couple of videos on the basic data structures. I think something that a lot of people struggle with, and I struggled with personally, was BP. And
Okay.
if you are studying DP, it's really hard. I know, and you
Yeah.
probably have to solve 100 questions so that maybe on the 101st question you can solve it without like looking at the solution. So I would say that I would say focus on graphs and DP for if you're like applying for Google or Amazon companies like this. That is a typically asked um,
Okay.
data structure, and those are the harder ones. And
Okay.
yeah, if you can score an internship, that is better, because I have realized in my experience that internship questions are going to be easier than, uh, you know, placement questions, because in the internship they get to call you, see how you work, and then maybe give you a placement offer. So definitely go for internships.
That's indeed a very important part of college life, internships and placements. Yeah, so there are some people here who are asking us about, like, Asta, what kind of biases did you face, either during your college life or during the jobs which you are presently doing, Google, Ansys, internships? Like, were there any kind of biases which you've been subjected to?
Definitely. So I think one of the reactions when I did get a job at Google was that, oh, you got in because you're a girl, right? Right. And I mean, people don't want to be mean, but it's very derogatory when you ask someone that. And I remember somebody asked me about my experience about for interviewing with Google, and the next question was like, "Okay, that's great, but can you tell me a guy who interviewed? Because I don't trust your experience. Because it's probably trying to indicate that it was easier for me to get in than a guy." So that does happen. There are going to be a lot of people out there who are going to just try to justify your success based on parameters like, yeah, you got in because you're a girl, or there were times when there used to be companies and people used to tell me, oh, you should totally wear a skirt to that interview and you will get the job. which
Oh
is
God.
very pathetic.
That again comes back to that stereotypical mindset of the
Yeah,
society.
and it's not just men, it's women. I have heard women say that, okay, I'm going to open my hair and I'm going to wear heels so that I get this job. And the fact that women have such biases is definitely a step back for feminism. So, yes, there are a lot of biases in the industry against that. Definitely. Also, I think I mean, I don't see a lot of leadership, women in leadership roles, and I wish I could see more in bigger companies. There will be a lot of women at the bottom level, but because I think these are fairly newer, diversity hiring is fairly newer. And I think one of the purpose of diversity hiring is to have more women in leadership roles, but right now there just aren't enough women in the in your chain of management, and I wish there are more as we go ahead.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so there are some students also asking us about how did you keep yourself motivated and what's the best time to become serious while in college? A very good question.
That is an excellent question. I think it is total. I have seen people do it. It's totally possible. You have all the time in the world in college. It is totally possible to study and enjoy. But if you are late, it's okay. You're not late. You can still grab a great placement, and life is very long. You will have a lot of opportunities in future as well. It's just that the important thing is when an opportunity presents itself, you should be prepared. Your excuse for not grabbing that opportunity should never be that I wasn't prepared in that moment. I think like when I had like my interview for Amazon, I think they told me like a week before it that yeah, next week we're going to just interview you. So like in a week you need to be prepared. And if I hadn't been coding already, I wouldn't have been able to get in, right? You
Yeah.
so there are going to be moments in your life where there is going to randomly an opportunity is going to present itself, and you should definitely be prepared for that.
Exactly.
And I think a few months before third year in general is a good time to start preparing for internships, and maybe 3 4 months before placement.
Okay, okay. And there are some people asking that if we have a BSc degree, so can we apply for Google even if we are in the core science field?
Yeah, definitely you can apply. You need to have, I think you just need to have relevant experience. There are a bunch of requirements that every job posting has. Go check them out. Most of them do not specify that you need a BTech. A lot of them are cool with you having a BSc degree. And if you have relevant experience, go ahead.
Okay, okay. That's quite cool. Okay. So, while you went for your Google interview, was your GPA considered like at any point? Of course, it must have been considered. So, there must have been some people who would have got an edge over you either in the Google placement or in the interview of some other company, like just because of GPU. So, did that cause any kind of regret to you? Ki maybe I could have done a much better during my 8 semesters or something of that sort?
Yeah, that is absolutely true. When Google did come to my campus for placement, I did not get shortlisted, and the reason was that, like, I mean, there were multiple reasons, but probably one of them was GPA, and because, like I said, GPA is a good way for a team to tell if you are consistently working. But just because your GPA isn't great, it doesn't mean you can't get into Google. I know tons of people with GPAs in like which are on the lower side, which are maybe 6 point something, that did get interview calls. And yes, it is probably something that is finally considered, but like when maybe shortlisting you, but then when you do appear for the interview, they just see how your interviews went. And it's okay, like even if your GPA isn't great, if you can one still improve it, two you can still make up in a lot of other ways. You can be a great at competitive programming. You can, they have lots of contests. You can apply to those contests like Code Jam or something, and if you perform really well, you can get an interview over there. So it's not the end of the world if your GPA isn't great.
Okay, Astha, did you always focus on a particular subject while in college, or you used to study the entire curriculum? Because I feel that in my BTech syllabus, there are several things which are not relevant. Like they teach us some subjects from the other branches, which I personally feel ki they should not teach us. Like, what will we do with them? So, did
Yeah.
you focus on a particular thing? Ki, I want to do this in future, so I'll only study this, or you focused on the entire curriculum?
I think honestly, when studying in college, I did not realize the importance of the subjects that I was studying. It is only when I did join the industry that I realized that, oh, this is something I did study and that was of relevance. Not all subjects are going to be relevant, but it's okay if you don't enjoy all of them. There are certainly subjects that are more relevant. It might be like for your branch, some that these are the core subjects. ये तो करने ही है. For us, I guess it was distributed systems, OS, DBMS, and like for example, they taught us computer architecture, which I don't think I used anywhere till now.
Yeah,
But then
exactly.
I think I didn't focus a lot on distributed systems, and pretty much the entire industry is running on distributed systems. All your
Yeah,
cloud
yeah.
networks are distributed systems.
I get that. So these days, like especially in the online period after the onset of the COVID pandemic, we can see that people are relying a lot on online courses. Like they go in for online edtech websites, purchase a course, and then ki Python kar liya, and now we are done with JavaScript. Now we are done with web development. So according to you, what is better? Like we go in for these sort of online courses to learn a particular course, or some kind of books, references, professors help? Like how did you like master your subjects?
I think honestly it helps a lot. Try to choose a course which has a project in it.
Okay.
So I think you're also building your resume in a way when you're building a project and you're building something that actually works. That feeling, that excitement of building a project and how something end to end is really great. So I would suggest if you are going for online courses, you should definitely go for one which has a project in it. And sorry, what was the other part of your question?
That is it okay if we approach like our professors or refer to some books like a very sort of a very self-paced way, not relying on these edtech platforms?
I think it's a personal preference. I couldn't ever read a lot of books, to be honest. There were a lot of good, like I think operating system has a really good book called Galvin, and
Okay.
I had to study that for my syllabus. So I know that it was a great book, but if like somebody told me to read it, otherwise I personally did not have that attention span. So it depends on you. If you are a reader, that is great for you. Go for that. If you are somebody who benefits a lot more from videos or maybe courses, that's a personal preference, I believe.
Yeah. And now a very, very important question coming from all the non-core branches, that it's the collective question from all of us, right? That belonging to a non-core branch, if we want to apply for an IT job, like of course the opportunities become very limited because there are certain companies who make this a very standstill scenario that anybody who's from mechanical, who's from biotechnology or chemical cannot sit for our campus interviews. So, is there any way, like, of course, off campus is there, and besides managing our regular curriculum, like, how do we go in for our dream company, which is tech related, while we are in a non tech field?
Okay, so I think a lot of product-based companies like off campus, they do allow you to apply. There are tons of contests where you can prove yourself and like if your scores is well, you can totally get in. And at the end of the day, it's basically you having the same experience and the same knowledge as they would perhaps expect from someone who is in a IT stream, right? So probably studying those subjects and doing enough competitive programming should help. I think yes, unfortunately, on campus companies are quite stringent, but I think there are multiple opportunities off campus. There are multiple contests where you can prove yourself. So I think that is a good way to go. And having
Okay.
internships and projects in non-technical fields, sorry, in technical fields also definitely helps.
Okay, so that's a very important field because there are some people who wanted to always go in for the technical branches, but of course, JE has a different destiny for everybody, so we really can't help it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
okay,
But I know a lot of people who, did not study IT, so like computers or IT or software engineering, but they do end up in jobs. So I think
okay.
it's just that you have to apply to the right companies. That is very integral.
Okay, okay. And Astha, why do you feel that diversity is very important, whether it's in the field of academics or whether it's in the field of jobs? Like a minimum ratio of females and males should be maintained. Why do you feel that it's important?
Okay, so I'm going to take an example over here that I read a while ago. So when Apple released its first health tracking app, so I think now pretty much every phone has a health tracking app, but Apple was the first one to do it, and when they did it, they totally missed having a period tracker. Now, 53% of Apple users are actually women. So there are more women using an Apple phone than men, but they still miss this. Probably because somewhere there weren't enough women in the team who were, deciding what features they're going to be adding. You need diversity because you need a different perspective, and that's very important. If you and the next person have pretty much the exact same experience, you really don't need two of you, do you?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, so having people who you always want your team to look like what your users are going supposed to look like. If everybody is going to be using these products, you would, and it's not just women; it's different ethnicities, different people from different races and countries. All of that is very important as we move forward because you need everyone's experiences. You need things to be less biased. A lot of decisions end up being very so. Another like example of this would be cars are actually only tested for men. So women are more likely to
Exactly.
die in a crash. So yeah, and that does not feel like something that should be okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I really means pity that fact that till today we have not been able to commemorate over this situation that even women need to be given equal opportunities as compared to men. So, have you ever been subjected to this kind of scene? Ki presently when you're working at Google, you have to go in for like suppose a party or any kind of project in which you have to work late night and you have that fear in mind ki if I return late, so the city is not safe or anything of that sort, while your male counterparts never need to think about that.
So right now, since my job is from home, I haven't felt that way. But definitely during my college time, that was something that was definitely concerning for us. And I think a lot of companies are putting in the effort of having cab services to drop people off. At least my internship had that, and I really like that. So that if somebody is working late, they can at least reach home safely. That is very important to make people feel comfortable working late hours. And yeah, I do wish the cities were safer. I mean I interned in Hyderabad and it was really safe. We used to stay out till like 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning and used to roam on the streets. And I can really not imagine doing that in Delhi at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I mean, my parents are also comfortable with like me being out there because they knew it was a safer city. So yeah, I do wish cities were safer, and I do feel there were like we could attend more social events. But I guess now a lot of uh, companies are focusing on how to make environment safer for women also. So that's also a good step.
Yeah, that's indeed a very well said part, because we indeed need guidance as to this part, because there are several females who are afraid of working late at night and they quit several opportunities because of this, afraid of going to different cities, working in a certain environment. So this really needs to
Yeah,
change. Yeah, Astha, so
yeah.
it's yeah, so Astha, okay, so any final tip regarding your success story for our audience? Because during this fireside chat, which I've had with you in the past 1 hour, I have personally learned a lot, and I'm sure that our audience would also have got a lot of insights into how the actual journey is. Because what everyone sees is that she is placed in Google. They don't know the real thing behind that. So today we actually got to know that. So, any final success tip for the audience or anything else which you want to share with them?
Uh, well, just don't be afraid of failing. Every time you're failing, you are definitely learning a lot. I failed a lot in my journey, and I am glad for all the times that I failed because one, it taught me what I did not want to do in life. Two, it definitely taught me what I needed to do to improve. So go ahead and take risks, and yeah, and definitely keep trying every day.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was indeed a very great time with you. I learned a lot, and I'm sure that everyone here would have actually got to learn a lot regarding how to apply for Google, how to learn data structures, etc., etc. There are a number of things which you taught us about. So, thank you, Astha. It was really a very nice chat with you, and I really hope that we get to meet again. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. See you soon again. And I hope that we stay connected with Floxus, of course.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.